So today, the White House said it would ease tariff pressures on automakers. Mark, how much of an impact will President Trump's tariffs have on the next GDP report? And do you see them slowing things down with the economy?
The GDP reading, Jenna, that we get this week is about the first 3 months of the year. We remember that the big tariffs announcement was in the early part of April. So April falls outside the first quarter. But what businesses and consumers were doing ahead of the imposition of the broadest part of these tariffs is trying to front run them. What does that mean? It means that a good number of businesses are trying to get goods into the United States essentially before the clock ran out. And we know the consumers were buying automobiles in a big way, particularly in February and March. So this has a number of implications for the future that are not positive because now we have supplies of unsold goods in the United States. That is going to mean that there's going to be a bit of an inventory overhang, as the saying goes. And we also know, to the Secretary's point, hard data pointing to a steep fall off on container ships and containers coming to the United States from places like China because they're not prepared to pay the tariffs, the businesses that are doing the import. So it's not just the so-called soft data that's about sentiment. It's about the outlook for the future, and consumers and businesses share this concern.
Yeah, many reports say the tariffs will be inflationary, Mark, but some estimates actually say the inflation would only go up by a point or two. Do you expect higher prices on maybe just some specific items, or do you think it'll be overall inflation?
Well, let's go back, for example, to what some of the retail CEOs told the president reportedly in the White House last week, that we may be seeing COVID-style supply chain disruptions that mean that some store shelves just simply will be bare because the importers are no longer willing to pay to get those things here. That's in the future. It could be in the not too distant future. To your point, I think that, let's just think about what the Federal Reserve says about this, which is not a political body. And that is that there are upside risks to inflation broadly. There are downside risks to growth broadly, including the job market. And there's no doubt that if the broad part of these tariffs remain in place, we will be facing higher prices on a wide array of items, ranging from fruits and vegetables that are imported from Canada and Mexico, to automobiles, to consumer electronics and clothing and shoes.
Yeah, speaking of the Fed, if inflation does tick higher, Mark, could it tie the Fed's hands on cutting interest rates?
It is in wait and see mode, Jenna. There is a policy setting announcement due next week, and they are not expected to make a rate announcement at that time because they want to see what the actual impact on the economy will be in the coming months. But there is a real challenge here because the Fed has essentially a mission that is divided in two, prescribed by law, and that is they need to try to keep prices low and they need to try to keep the job market strong. And both of those goals, both parts of that dual mandate, could come under pressure here in the coming months. But again, they want to see the real impact, and this is an experiment that's being played out in real time.
Okay, Mark Hamrick with BankRate. Thank you, Mark.